We're trying to do many things with the many tools, and we have a lot of different organizations. We bring in our different cultures, we bring in our different ways of working, and Microsoft's saying, great, bring it all in, let's do it all. But also, why do we need to just choose and tell people how they manage? So, what are you folks doing today? How do you manage tasks? You can throw it in the chat over here. You can just speak up if you'd like. When we usually ask this question, we get a smattering of responses. We might get Excel. You can see Outlook there. Yes. I'm seeing some in Planner, some in Project, some in To Do. Well, folks that are talking Microsoft centric, perfect. But also, if you have other tools like some of the competitors out there, Smartsheet and Asana and all these other boards that are out there, you can use those too. So really the thought is to keep everybody doing what they're doing, focus them on the work. So if you're in a particular industry, why do you want to change what you're not going to change an engineer and make them into a project manager, right? Have them focused on what their their core skill set is to do. And then from there, we can gather all that information, pull it out. So when we take a look at all these, these are a lot of Microsoft tools, but you got version 1 and some of these other tools that are out that I just talked about, whether they're agile, waterfall, from a project management perspective. Well, let's just boil it down. If I need to get a task done, how am I doing that and what does it look like? Well, when we talked to a lot of folks with Microsoft, did some surveys here, it's about 61% of folks spend their time on doing that same stuff, right? Over and over, repetitive work. So if we can reduce that noise, maybe automate some things, but even locating our tasks. How much time do we spend locating our stuff and going into email and then trying to respond over there and bringing it over into Planner or whatever you're using, to-dos? So I want to show you a couple tricks in the current tool set, and then also where people are moving to as far as the modern. And this also, I don't know, I try to, pride myself on getting a lot done. A lot of people say I'm very good at multitasking, and I think we are, but there is a study out there that the human brain actually can't multitask. You're just very good at switching quickly and jumping and hitting it running. So the actual interruption rate that's out there on average across the user set, and now this is actually interesting with the studies coming out with the millennials too, and not to categorize anybody, but folks that are quicker with technology, their not only ability to switch back and forth, but also to keep their intent engagement and keep them focused on something. It's very interesting studies out there, and you should definitely take a look if you're interested in that stuff. And I have some links on the left-hand side from McKinsey there. But think about it. Every 3 minutes, we need to switch tasks on average with some of these larger companies and what you're doing. That's crazy. And you think about how much mental time it takes to switch. So if you're trolling your email on a daily basis, I'm going to implore you, don't do it. We have one more day in the work week for some of us in the East Coast. I challenge you to check your email 3 times. Morning, somewhere during your lunch break or hopefully wellness break, and then somewhere maybe before you get off. And see how much work you actually can get done with that. Then take a look at what we're going to talk about moving things away from Outlook and bringing them into more automation. And that's, when you start to look at that, that's really where we're getting. There are really some good things. The keynote's going to be talking about a lot of this as well and talking about the different project platforms in Microsoft. We're building on that this morning. So if we can get our tasks and everything into a common area, then people can use those outside task world. They can use the Microsoft projects and the planners and everything else that you mentioned. And that's really what we're going to be doing, this big purple area called Teams. If we can get the task fabric from Microsoft and other tools into there, then we have everything in the same area. We're talking apples to apples, as they say over here in the States. And that's where we're going to get to. Now, organizations like us, we've built some integrations. We're working with Microsoft to get it into the core product, hopefully soon. And if not, they're going to pick up and do something else. But really, you can see all the disparate tools here. And this is all talking about tasks. You can have a task that's directly over here in this Outlook world, which a lot of us do. Some people take minute meeting minutes, and within there, they have a nice little checkbox system, and those are some to-dos. They might also use their phones, right? And they just say, hey, one of those names or Google or whatever it happens to be, remind me that I have this to do, or follow up on that email or whatever it happens to be. And then what about if you're researching something? You're out there researching something. If you're like me, you have all these things back in the past, all these things tagged up there. It says, if and when the day comes and I have time to read all these articles, I'm going to go back to all these things that I have flagged. So just in that scenario, in a typical day on the left-hand side, we're doing so much, and I wonder how much we're actually getting done versus trying to organize what we should get done rather than getting things done. Now, for the automation suite, and you're going to hear about this all throughout the day, is really that Power Platform, low code, no code environment. And that's going to be in and around Power Automate, which is the old flow, so creating a flow, the APIs for Graph and things like that, but also, getting Power Apps and all these other business driven applications that you folks can grab. And on the right-hand side, that's sort of where you folks have answered on where you're managing tasks along what to do, but the planner world, the project world, and getting into the project-centric tasks that we have that roll up into a project. You can continue on and roll it up into a portfolio. You may use a collaborative solution like SharePoint free with Office or M365 out there. And then for your mentioned some engineers, or what about those developers or people that are using the non-waterfall, the traditional, so using something like an agile or sprints or whatever happens to be over there. That's all in Azure DevOps for the Microsoft platform. You may use Jira or version one or any of these other tools, and that's okay. What we want to do is bring that all in. And then lastly, this huge dynamic suite that's out there. And Dynamics, all the modules, it's the old module form. So you're going to have a module for finance, you're going to have a module for actually project is out there. You have a module for this, that, and the other things. So you have all these different modules that you can have in there. And it's very robust in an organization. We happen to use it for our customer management, so CRMs, your ERP systems, whatever you have it. So imagine where you can take this and you can bring all of this into one area. So you can have your processes integrated within your different line of apps. When I say line of apps, all your business apps that we didn't mention today. You might have a resourcing, you might have a invoice tool, whatever it happens to be, your financial, you sort of bringing those in. If we can take these world of all these routine tasks and start knocking them down and putting them into an area where everybody can self-serve, that's the future. That's what we're talking about. That single purple hub of teams. And that's what I wanted to sort of switch back over to is take the next, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes to sort of show you where people are going and how they can get there. Any questions before I just sort of jump into a on the spot demo here? All right. So you folks said you worked in Outlook, Planner, To Do, whatever happens to be. When you're over in Outlook, you might just flag a couple things. You might go into the task itself and create. I do this a lot. Sometimes I used to go in here and create a calendar invite for myself just so I'd block out my time so I could actually do it. So we have things in our inbox, we have things in our calendar, we might have things over here in to do as well. And this is sort of the new area where they're pulling things. And when you go into to do these days, you actually down the left hand side, there's going to be a little window. And I could actually took a screenshot of this because I was setting it up on the demo environment. Right here, it says, hey, assign to me tasks from your planner assignments. And you can go ahead and say create. Well, that's nice. It's taking everything from Planner and putting it into To Do. This is that seamless integration that's called within Teams, which I'll show you, which is Planner is my task by Planner. If you don't have any of your Planner tasks, it might not look as busy, but folks come in here, they take a look at their day, okay? They look here and they start just dragging, or adding things to the day from the right-hand area. Take a little bit of information. Notice if I have this task synced into Planner or whatever it happens to be. Look at this, open in Teams, okay? going to show you what that looks like in just a second, but let's go ahead and keep talking about what our potential task could be. Someone mentioned planner. So if I go over to planner world, I can start to see all these planner tasks. I can sort by, progress group. I'm going to do by plan just in this case because we are in a project management discussion here, the project reimagine. And this is really by project we're taking a look at coho health analysis, coho scope, all these different projects that I may have. And each one of these tasks, you might say, okay, that's great, but how does that tie back to our actual project? Well, you can do that if you want. You can actually get a sync tool. We can go into project itself. I'm switching gears here. I'm now in Project Online. For those that are unfamiliar with Project Online, this is a push of information since the last time you logged on. Each one of these blue is a project, okay? And the project manager used almost your desktop tool. It's a little different. It's not a desktop tool. It actually connects to the server out here, which we're calling Project Online, which is in the cloud. Same sort of project management. You can use dependencies, critical path, earn value management, create tasks, resources, percent complete, you name it. You have all those different fields out there. So it's still project, okay? The difference with this is it's not only just project, we can see this through, you're seeing right here, through a browser and through the web. So I open up a project, I can take a look here, and our tool, what it does is it actually takes whatever you want and says, come in here, and then what do I want to actually sync? I can grab a subset of tasks. I can grab every stinking thing in here at a project level and say, sync everything. But for me, you know what? I don't really want to sync milestone completions that I have in here because as a good project manager, I'm not assigning any resources on a milestone. That's just the culmination or sum of everything that precedes it. So I've chosen to do 4 here and 5 or 6 here. I'm putting them into different buckets. Here's a scope, here's to do, and then let's see what else we're pulling over from Planner here. I scroll over, you can start to see some other things here. So I'm seeing the priority bucket, the planner notes. I can see what it's syncing to and which areas. These are the actual URLs that I have out here. And then, if I take a look here, I can actually go into the task details information. So I can go in here and actually click and open up. It might open up in the same window. It does, but I didn't have my control button hit. But if I go and hit that, folks, we're going right back into your planner world. This is your task within Planner. Everything's being pulled directly from project. And what comes back forth? You have your name, you have the resources, all of this good stuff, the priority, notes, attachments are interesting. We've chosen to keep the attachments where you, the user, keep them. We don't want to make duplicates. So if you're saving them in Planner or Teams, the technical folks in the call know that that's going to go to an Office 365 group. So it's actually going to create that SharePoint, if you will, through Teams. It's going to save it out there. So then you can go ahead and search your Teams for these different documents. You can search for different threads, meeting minutes, milestones, whatever you have. So that's pretty good. You can see all your tasks over in Project. You can see them if you sync them up into Planner. And the next step we talked about was to-dos. Well, within Teams, how does this all look? Well, there's this thing over here called Task by Planner and To-Do. The way I got that was going through the ellipsis, coming in here, and you start typing Planner, or you can even put Task, it doesn't really matter. You have this thing called Task by Planner and To-Do. You can add that today. Go ahead and add it to your Teams, and then you're going to see what you have actually synced. You might just have your to-do tasks, that you're doing personally, and things in Planner. Now, you probably don't, unless you have the tool, the ability to see all of your projects. Here are my Coho Healths. I can see that I have another few projects down here like Mach 8 and some other things. But this is really cool, folks. Talk about a modern way to manage all tasks across different tool sets right in here within Teams. I can come in, I can see that people are trying to reach out to me for my tasks. I have some activities, about 6 of them that I have to do. I wonder if those are some new tasks that I got assigned. All of this information is being pushed in through Teams. From here, the world is really open to you. You can create bots, you can create flows and automations to do some of those processes. You can create a new list or plan in this case to actually manage things. Say you have a different project that you want to do. Maybe we're just doing a small design document for a larger project. Sure, I can come in here and start doing all of my checklist items. The team or the project manager doesn't necessarily need to see that, but I might want to see that. So you have a lot of different areas to manage your teams, to manage your tasks, and then to manage the projects that those would actually subsequently roll into. Now, over in Teams as well, how are we actually setting some of this up? Well, our team approach here is project teams. So we have a team, you can see, for my projects. By the way, through the tool, or you can create this yourself through Power Automate, you can say every time a project is created, I would like it to go off and create a project team. Give it a template. Assign the team from project to my team so they have access to it. Create different tabs, channels, private channels, whatever you have. You can do this. This thought of having templatized teams is now not just a thought, it's actually a reality that you can do. So you can pull from a creation of a project, create a project team, create backend behind it, which is an Office 365 group for all the securities. And then you now have your project team up here. And what am I looking at? Coho Health. If I hover over here, I can see that it created something and I have my tasks right here. Here are those 4 tasks that I had back over in project when I was looking at Microsoft Project. And I can come in here and take a look at these and actually update different thing or however else I want to do this. And this will then, depending on my progress, it will send this progress of this particular task, develop preliminary budget, and it will send it back to the project itself. So that, my friends, is a real quick overview of the modern project and really managing tasks using this modern technique of project teams. Now, I have a couple of things I was going to show you, but I am going to pause to see if we have any other questions that are out there and see if anybody wants me to show anything else. I can see folks are typing, so I'll just let that happen. And I did want to just back up because I saw some folks jump in here. What we showed was some tasks over in Planner. We showed tasks in To-Do area. We rolled everything into Teams over here by just opening up this application. It knows to go and find my To-Do. It knows to go and find my, if I click on Planned here, to go find all my plans. And the last bit is if you want to link project to planner, you can go ahead and do that too. So folks, thanks for joining. If there aren't any other questions, I'll let you have some of your day. Have a great day.